Breaking news from around your world on this Friday, August 30th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Hurricane Dorian strengthened Friday into a Category 3 storm with top sustained winds of 115 miles per hour. The National Hurricane Center said Dorian is expected to strengthen into a potentially catastrophic Category 4 with winds of almost 140 miles per hour and slam the Florida East Coast late Monday or early Tuesday, nearly 10 miles an hour faster and a day later than previously forecast, as Dorian's forward motion began to slow. Even a Category 3 hurricane would be the strongest hurricane to hit central Florida in more than 30 years. Forecasters said the storm will grow more ferocious as it gains strength from the warm waters off Florida. The track of the storm could change, but if the forecast issued Friday verifies, Hurricane 4 sustained winds would affect the entire width of Florida. Governor Ron DeSantis on Friday urged Floridians to stock up on at least a week's worth of food, water, and medicine, and to prepare to lose power and cell phone service for days after Dorian makes landfall. DeSantis has activated 2,500 National Guard troops with another 1,500 on standby. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp declared a state of emergency in 12 neighboring counties to assist with storm readiness, response, and recovery. Florida officials were also making sure all nursing homes and assisted living facilities had generators. President Donald Trump canceled a planned weekend trip to Poland, sending Vice President Mike Pence in his place so he can make sure federal resources are properly directed for the storm. Hong Kong police arrested two prominent pro-democracy activists on Friday ahead of what is expected to be another weekend of protests. Police said Joshua Wong and Agnes Chow were being charged with inciting and participating in an illegal assembly. The charges stemmed from their alleged involvement in a June 21st protest at police headquarters. They were released on bail, and the case was adjourned until November 8th. The arrests of Wong and Chow were part of a broadening crackdown on the pro-democracy movement that has raised tensions in that Chinese territory. Activist Andy Chan, who leads a banned pro-independence party, was arrested late Thursday trying to board a plane at the Hong Kong airport. Sha Tin District Council member Rick Hui Hui also was arrested Friday on suspicion of obstructing officers during July 14 clashes at a shopping mall. North Korea's Kim Jong-un has tightened his grip on power following the second session of the 14th Supreme People's Assembly. Seoul's Institute for National Security Strategy said Friday the North Korean leader was given more powers that will allow him to separate or distinguish himself from other members of the assembly while strengthening his legal status as chairman of the North Korean cabinet. INSS said the changes mean Kim is in control of the Standing Committee of the Supreme People's Assembly. In addition to Kim's power consolidation, INSS said top North Korean diplomats could have been conferred more power, strengthening their status and responsibility as the regime seeks to maintain the diplomatic channels it has built in the past 2 years. However, Kim is to exclusively make decisions on their appointments. Kim did not appear in state media images of the assembly on Friday. Prime Minister Boris Johnson's Brexit plan was facing mounting legal, political, and diplomatic challenges Friday as Ireland accused Britain of being unreasonable, and former British leader John Major sought to stop the suspension of Parliament. A Scottish court will hear arguments September 3rd, and a Northern Irish court will hear a separate case September 6th. Ultimately, the cases could be combined to go to the Supreme Court, the final court of appeal in the United Kingdom, which hears cases of the gravest constitutional importance. Johnson, the face of the Vote Leave campaign in the 2016 referendum, has promised to lead the United Kingdom out of the European Union in 2 months with or without a divorce deal, a threat he hopes will convince the bloc to give him the exit deal he wants. The government said British negotiators would hold twice-weekly talks with EU officials next month in an attempt to rework the Brexit agreement that Britain's parliament has repeatedly rejected. As problems with vaping and e-cigarettes continue to climb, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention warned users not to buy e-cigarettes on the street or modify the products in any way. The CDC is also advising multiple groups to not use e-cigarettes at all, including youth, young adults, pregnant women, as well as adults who do not currently use tobacco products. The CD said if you do use e-cigarettes, to monitor yourself for symptoms like shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain, and if experienced, seek medical attention. The recommendations in a CDC health advisory released Friday come after 215 possible cases of an unidentified pulmonary disease were reported among e-cigarette users. The CDC said one Illinois patient died from a severe pulmonary disease and had a history of recent e-cigarette usage. According to the CDC Health Advisory, an exact number isn't known, but many patients have reported using e-cigarettes containing cannabinoid products such as THC or CBD. The CDC says it's currently conducting epidemiological investigations across multiple states to gain a better understanding of the disease, its causes, etc. More than 2,000 people have died from Ebola in the Democratic Republic of the Congo in the last year. In an update released Friday, the report also said the nation has recorded 3,000 confirmed cases of Ebola. The World Health Organization declared the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern, made more complicated by instability and mistrust in the Congolese government. The health crisis is the second worst outbreak after one that killed more than 11,000 people between 2013 and 2016. The organization, Doctors Without Borders, said those involved with stopping the spread of the virus must build trust with the local communities. Officials said health workers have given an experimental Ebola vaccine to more than 200,000 people, and it's believed to have a near 98% efficiency rate for 12 months. A federal judge on Thursday dismissed criminal charges against convicted sex offender and disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein, who killed himself in his jail cell as he awaited trial for alleged sex trafficking of teenage girls. A Southern District of New York judge made the decision 2 days after a hearing where at least 24 of Epstein's alleged victims read statements expressing anger and frustration over Epstein's alleged crimes and called for the investigation of people suspected of helping Epstein recruit young women to abuse. The judge wrote, "Because Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, died while this case was pending, and therefore before a final judgment was issued, the indictment must be dismissed under rule of abatement." That is in reference to the rule wiping indictments clean when a defendant dies while a case is pending. President Trump's personal assistant, Madeleine West, resigned abruptly Thursday after the president learned she had shared details about his family and Oval Office operations with reporters at an off-the-record dinner, according to the New York Times, citing people familiar with her exit. Westerhout had also recently faced pushback from some White House and cabinet officials by trying to expand her responsibilities, with one advisor close to the White House suggesting she was trying to act like a de facto chief of staff, according to Politico. Westerhout was distrusted by some Trump loyalists because she came over to his team from the Republican National Committee right after the election. Her office had been right outside the Oval Office, and she served as a key gatekeeper for access to President Trump. President Trump on Thursday formally authorized establishing the United States Space Command, describing it as a step forward in forming a space force as the sixth branch of the U.S. military. Trump, who is still pushing Congress to create the Space Force, called the creation of the Space Command a landmark moment in the effort to defend America's vital interests in space, the next warfighting domain. In a Rose Garden ceremony, the president said the Space Force will organize, train, and equip warriors to support Spacecom's mission. Air Force General John Raymond, confirmed by the Senate in June as commander of Space Command, said protecting space assets such as satellites, key to everything from missile defense to communications, is a focus of the new command's mission. He said, "There is nothing that we do in the Joint Coalition Force that isn't enabled by space. Zero." Jeopardy host Alex Trebek announced Thursday he has completed his chemotherapy treatments. He is now on the mend and back working on the 36th season of Jeopardy, he said in a video message for the fans of his show. Trebek revealed his stage 4 pancreatic cancer diagnosis in March, pledging that he was going to fight this. but that didn't mean he was leaning toward retirement, joking at the time that, under the terms of my contract, I have to host Jeopardy for 3 more years. Just about 3 months later, Trebek announced his cancer was in near remission. Trebek filmed the end of season 35 while undergoing cancer treatment. And that's your update for this Friday, August 30th, 2019. I'll be taking some time off for vacation starting next week, so this podcast will not be available again on a daily basis until mid-September. I appreciate the support received from listeners worldwide, and I'm delighted that some of you are using this podcast to sharpen your English skills. I'm grateful for your continuing support with donations through the Podbean app and hope you will consider making a monthly pledge or a larger one-time donation to support this effort. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.